My stepson auctioned my wife's jewelry before probate, so I had him removed as executor narrator. George Miller, 73, widower and retired photographer. My stepson was standing beneath a chandelier drinking champagne beside 37 pieces of his dead mother's jewelry when a court officer walked into the auction preview and began sealing the display cases. Kevin saw me through the glass doors. For the first time since Eleanor died, he did not look at me as if I were an old man he could dismiss. He looked at me as if he had finally understood what all those photographs were for. 3 weeks earlier, he had carried the collection out of my house and told me, "You were only her second husband. This belongs to our family." He was partly right. The jewelry did belong to Eleanor's family. What Kevin had forgotten was that I was her family too, and that an executor is not the owner of an estate. He is only its caretaker. My name is George Miller. I am 73 years old, and I live in Lakewood, Pennsylvania, a quiet town of brick storefronts, maple trees, and people who know which families have stopped speaking before either side admits it. For 46 years, I made my living as a photographer. I photographed weddings, catalog products, school principals, machine parts, newborn babies, and once, for a plumbing supplier, 300 nearly identical brass valves. By the time I retired, I had learned that a camera does more than preserve beauty. It preserves order. A photograph fixes an object in a place in a moment, a date, a scratch, a serial number, a clasp repaired slightly off-center, details people forget, become facts a lens remembers. That habit is the reason Eleanor's jewelry came home. Eleanor was my second wife, and I was her second husband. We met when we were both 46. Her first marriage had ended 10 years earlier, and mine had ended with an apology neither of us believed. She had one son, Kevin, who was 17 when Eleanor and I married. Kevin never called me dad. I never asked him to. At 17, he already had a father, even if that father lived in Arizona and remembered birthdays mostly when prompted. I tried to be something less demanding and more reliable. I drove Kevin to college his first year. I helped him build shelves in his first apartment. When he started a small commercial landscaping company, I photographed his equipment for the website and refused payment. We were not close, but for many years we were decent to each other. Eleanor was the bridge between us. She knew when Kevin was exaggerating. She knew when I was withdrawing instead of speaking. At family dinners, she could redirect an argument with one raised eyebrow and a question about dessert. The jewelry had come to her in layers. Some pieces belonged to her grandmother, a platinum ring with an old European-cut diamond, a seed pearl brooch shaped like a spray of wheat, and a sapphire pendant the color of rain just before dark. Her mother left her a pair of emerald earrings and a narrow gold bracelet engraved inside with the date of Eleanor's parents' wedding. I gave her other pieces over our 26 years together. A silver camera brooch after my final gallery show, a strand of South Sea pearls for our 20th anniversary, a modest ruby ring we found in an antique store during a weekend in Baltimore. Eleanor wore the collection. She did not keep it sealed away like treasure in a storybook. She wore the pearls to the grocery store because she said waiting for a special occasion was how people allowed life to become ordinary. She wore the sapphire pendant when she gardened, which terrified me. She wore her grandmother's diamond ring on her right hand every Christmas. Once a year, at the request of our insurance company, I photographed every item. I treated the work like a commercial assignment. Gray background, color card, soft box on the left, reflector on the right, one full view, one profile, one photograph of the maker's mark or engraving. I saved the original RAW files and exported copies labeled with the appraisal number. Eleanor would sit beside me at the dining room table and read descriptions from the insurance schedule. Platinum ring, one old European-cut diamond, estimated weight 1.4 carats, she would say. Turn it 10 degrees, I would answer. You are impossible, and yet everything is in focus. That is why I keep you. Those annual sessions became a private ritual. Afterward, I made tea, and Eleanor told me the story behind whichever piece we had photographed last. I wrote the stories into a notebook because photographers understand that captions disappear unless someone preserves them. When Eleanor died, that notebook was on the shelf above my desk. Her death was not sudden, but it still surprised me. That is the dishonest promise of a long illness. It gives you time to prepare every practical thing and no time at all to prepare for the empty chair. Pancreatic cancer took 14 months. During the final 6, Kevin came more often. He drove Eleanor to 2 appointments when I was exhausted. He arranged grocery deliveries. He sat beside her bed and read business news aloud because she had always pretended to understand his interest in markets. I was grateful to him. That gratitude is important. It explains why, when the will named Kevin as executor, I did not object. Eleanor had signed the will 4 years earlier. The house passed to me outside the estate because we owned it jointly. Her retirement account named Kevin and me in equal shares. The remaining estate, including her individually owned jewelry, savings, and a small portfolio inherited from her mother, was divided equally between us after debts and expenses. Kevin was named executor. Eleanor told me she had chosen him because he was younger and because she believed paperwork would give him something useful to do with his grief. A professional fiduciary service was named as alternate. "You'll be grieving too much," she told me. "So will he." "Yes, but you become quiet when you are hurt. Kevin becomes busy." She smiled when she said it. Neither of us understood that being busy and being trustworthy were not the same thing. The funeral was on a Thursday. On Monday, Kevin came to the house with 2 empty document boxes and a black leather jewelry case. He had already met with the estate attorney and filed the will with the county register of wills. He showed me a short certificate proving that letters had been granted to him as executor. "I need to secure Mom's personal property," he said. His language had changed. Eleanor's belongings were now personal property. Her accounts were estate liquidity. Her death certificate was a certified copy. I understood the need for procedure. I had spent a career labeling archives. I led him upstairs to the bedroom safe. The jewelry was stored in 2 velvet-lined trays. I began lifting each piece out so we could compare it with the insurance schedule. Kevin closed the lid. "I'll handle the inventory at the office. We can do it here. George, I'm the executor, and I am a beneficiary, which is exactly why I need independent control." That sounded reasonable enough to a man who had slept badly for 6 weeks. I asked him to sign a simple receipt listing the 2 trays and 37 items. He laughed. "You want a receipt from me?" "I want a record for both of us." His face changed. "Do you think I'm stealing from my own mother?" I should have answered the question instead of soothing the insult. "No," I said. "I think grief makes everyone forgetful." He signed only for 1 case of personal effects contents to be inventoried. Then he carried the case out. That was my first mistake. My second was waiting 12 days to ask for the inventory. During those 12 days, I canceled Eleanor's phone, notified the utility companies, and learned that grief could turn a 5-minute task into an afternoon. Every cabinet contained a decision. Every coat still held the shape of her shoulders. When I finally emailed Kevin, he did not respond. I called the next day. "The appraiser is reviewing everything," he said. "Which appraiser?" "Someone my attorney recommended." "Send me the name and the item list." "When it's complete." "The insurance schedule is already complete. Insurance values are inflated. That is why you obtain a fair market appraisal. You do not ignore the existing record," Kevin sighed. This is what Mom was worried about. What was she worried about? You treating everything like it belongs to you because you were married to her. I felt the sentence land, but I kept my voice level. Half the residue does belong to me when the estate is properly distributed. Until then, none of it belongs to either of us. Those pieces came from my grandmother and great-grandmother. Some did. Some came from me. All belonged to Eleanor. "You were only her second husband," he said. "This is our family's property." There are statements too revealing to argue with. I ended the call. That afternoon, I opened the jewelry archive. There were 1,428 photographs made over 21 annual sessions. The most recent set had been taken 5 months before Eleanor died. Each folder contained the date, the item number, and the signed appraisal that matched it. The insured replacement value of the collection was $212,700. I knew an estate sale would not produce that amount. Insurance values account for replacement, not the hurried reality of liquidation. But I also knew the collection could not be responsibly sold from an unlabeled leather case after a single private opinion. I sent Kevin a formal written request for an inventory and appraisal. I copied the estate attorney. 4 days passed. Then a former client named Paula Reese called me. Paula owned a frame shop in Lakewood and collected antique jewelry. I had photographed her store catalog for years. "George," she said carefully, "is Eleanor's jewelry being sold?" My hand tightened around the phone. "Why would you ask that?" Northbridge Estate Auctions posted a private preview catalog. One of the sapphire pendants looks exactly like the piece Eleanor wore to my retirement dinner. She sent me the link. The catalog title was discreet: The Lakewood Legacy Collection, Fine Jewels from a Private Pennsylvania Family. There was no mention of Eleanor, no mention of an estate, no executor's name. There were 29 lots. I recognized every one. The sapphire pendant appeared on page 4. The clasp had been replaced in 2018 and sat 2 millimeters left of center. I had photographed that repair. The pearl brooch appeared on page 7. One seed pearl near the bottom was slightly warmer than the others because Eleanor's grandmother had replaced it in 1959. My camera brooch was lot 14. The engraved bracelet was lot 21. The auction photograph did not show the inscription, but my files did. The combined low estimate was $78,000. The auction house planned to charge a seller's commission and a buyer's premium. The preview was Friday. Bidding would close Saturday evening. Probate had been open less than a month. I searched the catalog twice for Eleanor's grandmother's diamond ring. It was not there. I called Kevin. He answered on the third try. "Did you consign Eleanor's jewelry to Northbridge?" Silence. "The estate needs liquidity," he said. "The estate has $180,000 in cash. There will be taxes and expenses. Then you prepare an inventory, obtain independent values, notify the beneficiaries, and document why a sale is necessary. I do not need your permission. Where is the diamond ring?" "What ring?" "Item J-004, platinum, old European cut diamond, engraving inside the shank. Mom gave that to me before she died." "When?" "Last year." On my monitor was a photograph taken 5 months earlier. Eleanor's hand rested beside the color card. The diamond ring was on her finger. "Put the sale on hold," I said. "No. Kevin, I am asking once, and I'm answering once. You are not in charge." He ended the call. He was right about that, too. I was not in charge. The court was. At 9 the next morning, I sat across from Mara Chen, an estate litigation attorney whose office occupied the second floor above a pharmacy. Mara was 50, direct, and unimpressed by dramatic language. She did not say Kevin had stolen the collection. She did not promise to destroy him. She asked for documents. I brought 3 archival boxes, 1 laptop, 2 external drives, the insurance schedule, Eleanor's will, the receipt Kevin had signed, and a printed copy of the auction catalog. Mara studied the first comparison sheet I had prepared. On the left was my dated photograph of the sapphire pendant. On the right was the auction image. Beneath them were the appraisal number, identifying marks, and estimated value. "How many of these did you make?" she asked. 29, 1 for each auction lot. "And the missing pieces?" 8, including the diamond ring. "Can you prove the ring remained in Eleanor's possession after the date Kevin claims she gave it to him?" I opened a folder from our 25th anniversary dinner. Eleanor stood beside me in a green dress, her right hand on my arm. The ring was visible. Then I showed Mara the raw file information and a second photograph from our annual insurance session 3 months later. "The camera recorded the dates," I said. "The insurer received these copies at the time. Their email confirms it." Mara leaned back. "Good. We are going to ask the Orphans Court for immediate relief, an order stopping the auction and accounting turnover of the missing property, suspension and removal of the executor, and appointment of the alternate fiduciary." "Can Kevin sell estate property?" "An executor can have authority to sell personal property. That is not the same as permission to conceal it, undervalue it, transfer it as his own, or give pieces away. The question is whether he is administering the estate for the beneficiaries or treating it as private property. He will say I am angry because the jewelry came from his side of the family. Are you? I thought about the pearl brooch in Eleanor's notebook. I am angry because he turned her life into lots before we had even finished opening her mail. That is understandable, Mara said, but judges do not remove executors for being insensitive. We will show mismanagement with evidence. That distinction guided everything that followed. Mara's staff preserved the online catalog, its metadata, the bidding terms, and the consigner information shown in a downloadable condition report. Kevin had signed the consignment agreement as Kevin Dorsey, owner. He had not written executor. He had instructed Northbridge to send proceeds to an ordinary bank account bearing his name because the estate account was pending activation. The estate account was not pending. It had been opened 11 days earlier. Mara called Northbridge's attorney and requested a voluntary hold. The auction house refused without Kevin's consent or a court order. It had already spent money advertising the sale. At 3:40 Thursday afternoon, Mara filed the emergency petition. The filing did not accuse Kevin of every ugly thing I imagined. It stated facts. 37 items removed, no detailed receipt, 29 items consigned under Kevin's personal name, low estimates far below insured replacement values without an independent estate appraisal, proceeds directed to a non-estate account, 8 items unaccounted for, 1 ring claimed as a gift despite photographs showing Eleanor possessed it after the alleged transfer. The judge held a short emergency conference by video at 5:15. Kevin's attorney argued that the sale was a reasonable effort to create liquidity and that delay could reduce bidder interest. Mara answered that bidder interest was not more important than preserving disputed estate property. At 6:02, the court issued a temporary order. The auction was suspended. Northbridge was prohibited from releasing, selling, moving, or altering the lots. Kevin was ordered not to transfer any estate property. A neutral fiduciary named Abigail Price was appointed to take temporary custody of the jewelry until a full hearing the following week. The county sheriff was authorized to assist if necessary. I read the order 3 times. Do not contact Kevin, Mara told me. I wasn't planning to. Do not go to the preview. I looked at her. George, it is open to registered guests. This is not a gallery opening. I know, she sighed. Stay out of the officer's way. Say nothing. If Kevin approaches you, leave. Friday evening, I put on the gray suit Eleanor liked and drove to Northbridge Estate Auctions. The business occupied a renovated bank building at the edge of Lakewood. Inside, waiters carried champagne between glass cases. Soft piano music played through hidden speakers. The auction house had arranged Eleanor's jewelry on cream velvet beneath warm lights. Without her, the pieces looked smaller. That surprised me. On Eleanor, the sapphire pendant had caught the blue in her eyes. In a case, it was simply an object with a number beside it. I stood near the back wall while Abigail Price entered with an assistant and a sheriff's civil deputy. She was a compact woman with silver glasses and a leather portfolio. She introduced herself to the auction director, showed him the order, and asked that the doors be closed to new guests. The music stopped. The deputy did not shout. No one was handcuffed. Abigail moved from case to case, matching each lot number to the order. The auction director signed a custody acknowledgement. Red evidence seals were placed across the locks, and small placards reading "Sale Suspended" were set on the counters. Guests began whispering. Then Kevin arrived with his fiancée, Paige. He wore a navy suit and the satisfied expression of a man entering a room arranged in his honor. Paige held his arm. On her right hand was Eleanor's grandmother's diamond ring. I knew it before the light struck the stone. The platinum setting had one prong slightly thicker than the others, a repair made in 2007. Kevin saw the sealed cases first, then he saw Abigail, then he saw me. His face emptied. He walked directly toward me. What did you do? I looked at Paige's hand. I made sure nothing else left the estate. Paige pulled her hand toward her body. This ring was a gift, she said. From whom? Kevin. That was not my question. Kevin stepped between us. Mom gave it to me. Abigail approached before I could answer. Mr. Dorsey, the court's order requires you to identify and preserve all property removed from the collection. Does that ring belong to the estate described in the petition? No. Then your attorney may provide documentation at the hearing. Until the court decides, I am requesting that it remain secured. Page stared at Kevin. You said it was yours. It is. You said your mother gave it to you when you graduated. Kevin had graduated 24 years earlier. The ring had appeared in 21 annual insurance sessions since then. Abigail did not react. She opened a small evidence envelope on the counter. Paige removed the ring. Her hand shook as she placed it inside. That was the moment Kevin lost more than an auction. Until then, Paige had believed she was wearing a family blessing. Now she understood she might have been wearing evidence. I left before Kevin could speak to me again. The full hearing took place 6 days later in the county courthouse. There was no jury, no packed gallery, just a judge, 2 tables, a clerk, Abigail Price, and the quiet machinery of consequences. Kevin's attorney argued first. He said Kevin had acted under broad authority granted by the will. He said private auction was a legitimate method of sale. He said the low estimates were marketing tools, not final values. He said the personal bank account was temporary and no money had actually been diverted because the sale had not occurred. Every statement was narrowly true. Then Mara began asking questions. Had Kevin prepared an itemized inventory before consignment? No. Had he obtained a written fair market appraisal for the collection? No. Had he informed both residuary beneficiaries before arranging the sale? No. Had he signed the auction agreement in his fiduciary capacity? No. Why had he directed proceeds to his personal account when an estate account already existed? Kevin said it was convenient. Why were 8 insured pieces omitted from the auction and the estate records? He said several were personal gifts. Could he produce signed gift letters, updated insurance schedules, messages from Eleanor, or any other evidence of those gifts? No. Then Mara displayed my photograph of the diamond ring from our annual insurance session. The date was 5 months before Eleanor died. Kevin claimed the camera date could have been altered. Mara produced the email our insurance agent had received that same afternoon with the image attached. She produced the insurer's updated schedule listing the ring in Eleanor's name. She produced a candid photograph from our anniversary dinner and a phone video made by Paula Reese 2 weeks later. Eleanor wore the ring in all 3. When did your mother give you the ring? Mara asked. I don't remember the exact date. At the auction preview, your fiancé said you told her it happened when you graduated. She was confused. Paige was sitting behind him. I watched her lower her eyes. Mara did not press for drama. She moved to the other missing pieces. 2 were found in Kevin's office safe. 1 was in a desk drawer at his home. 3 had been given to a consignment dealer in another town. The remaining 2 were still in his possession, he said, though he had not brought them to court. By then, the pattern mattered more than any single explanation. Kevin had not preserved and inventoried Eleanor's property. He had divided it informally into what he considered family pieces, what he could sell, and what he could give away. In his mind, becoming executor had transformed future inheritance into present ownership. The judge asked Kevin one question. Mr. Dorsey, did you understand that Mr. Miller was an equal residuary beneficiary under your mother's will? Yes. Then why did you tell the auction house you were the owner? Kevin looked at his attorney. It was shorthand. The judge removed his glasses. Fiduciary duty is not shorthand. The ruling came that afternoon. Kevin was removed as executor for mismanagement, failure to account, and conduct creating a direct conflict with the estate. His letters were revoked. The alternate named in Eleanor's will, Hearthland Fiduciary Services, was appointed successor personal representative. Kevin was ordered to return every item, disclose every transfer, and provide a complete accounting of expenses and property under his control. He was denied compensation for serving as executor. The court did not disinherit him. It could not rewrite Eleanor's will simply because Kevin had behaved as if he already owned the result. His lawful share remained his lawful share, but it would be reduced by the damage he had caused. The auction cancellation fee, emergency fiduciary costs, storage, legal fees attributable to recovering the jewelry, and the expense of locating the 3 pieces sent to the second dealer were charged against Kevin's distribution after a formal accounting. The diamond ring was returned to the estate, so were the other 36 pieces. It took 7 weeks. Hearthland hired an independent appraiser with no connection to either beneficiary or auction house. The collection's fair market value was assessed at $136,500, far below the insurance replacement figure, but substantially above Northbridge's combined low estimate. The new fiduciary asked both Kevin and me to submit any distribution requests in writing. I requested 3 items: the silver camera brooch I had given Eleanor, the South Sea pearls from our 20th anniversary, and the narrow gold bracelet engraved with her parents' wedding date, not for myself, but to hold for Kevin's daughter, if he ever had one. Kevin requested the pieces from his grandmother and great-grandmother, including the diamond ring. I did not object to his requests. That surprised Mara. You could ask that the ring be sold, she said. A neutral sale would make division simpler. Eleanor wanted him to receive half her estate, not half her estate except the objects that make me angry. You trust him with it? Trust is no longer the question. Distribution will make it his. Until then, it was not. The fiduciary divided the jewelry by appraised value. Items that neither of us requested were sold through a different auction house after written notice, independent estimates, and an accounting that listed every fee. The proceeds went into the estate account. Kevin received the diamond ring only after he signed a receipt acknowledging its appraised value as part of his share. He gave it back to Paige. She did not wear it. Their engagement ended 3 months later. I do not know whether the ring caused it. Usually, a relationship does not end because of one lie. It ends because one visible lie teaches someone where to look for the others. Kevin's expected executor's commission would have been a little over $18,000. He received none of it. The costs charged against his inheritance totaled $27,840. He appealed one portion of the surcharge, then withdrew the appeal when Hearthland produced time records and invoices for every dollar. Documentation had defeated him twice. The estate closed 14 months after Eleanor's death. Kevin received his remaining lawful distribution. I received mine. No one went to jail. No one was publicly dragged from a courtroom. The consequences were quieter and, to me, more exact. Kevin lost the authority he had abused. He lost the fee he believed he had earned. He paid the cost of returning what he had treated as his own, but he did not lose what Eleanor had genuinely left him. That mattered to me. Revenge can become another form of theft when it tries to take more than justice requires. I did not want Kevin erased from his mother's will. I wanted him stopped from erasing me and from turning Eleanor's intentions into whatever benefited him first. Kevin and I did not speak for almost a year after the estate closed. Then on Eleanor's birthday, a package arrived. Inside was her notebook of jewelry stories. I had assumed it remained on my shelf, but Kevin must have taken it with the document boxes. A note rested on top. This belongs with the photographs. There was no apology. I did not invent one. I placed the notebook beside the archive and sent him a single message. Received, thank you. He replied, okay. That is where we remain. Sometimes people hear a story like mine and expect reconciliation to arrive as a reward for doing the right thing. Real families are not that tidy. A court can order property returned. It cannot order trust restored. It can revoke letters testamentary. It cannot make a stepson understand 26 years of marriage in one afternoon. I still live in the Lakewood house. The dining room where I photographed Eleanor's jewelry is now my archive room. On one wall hangs a portrait I made of her at 68. She is wearing the sapphire pendant and laughing at something outside the frame. The camera brooch sits below the portrait in a small shadow box. The pearls remain in their case. Once a year on our anniversary, I take them out and place them on the gray background beneath the soft box. I photograph them again, not for insurance, for continuity. The photographs that saved Eleanor's collection were never made for court. They were made because I believed ordinary objects deserved careful records. Dates mattered, scratches mattered, engravings mattered. The small repair on a platinum prong mattered. Kevin believed grief had made me weak and age had made me slow. He was right about the grief. He was wrong about the rest. I did not stop the auction by shouting louder than he did. I stopped it by showing where every piece had been. when it had been there, and who owned it before he decided ownership was his to assign. An executor may hold the keys. He may sign the forms. He may even stand in a beautiful room and watch strangers admire everything he plans to sell, but he is still a caretaker. And when a caretaker begins acting like an owner, sometimes all it takes to remove him is one person who kept the pictures.